Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome back to another tier list video. Now I'm going to be switching up how I'll do tier lists, because I've noticed tier lists as videos don't do as well as I think they could, and maybe doing them in a live format will be more interesting for people, so I think we might start doing tier lists in a live format going forward. And this is just to essentially kind of mix up the content on the channel a little bit. But I did want to do a video version of the Sentai Changers tier list because I'd already done one on Kamen Rider belts and Ultraman devices. So this is kind of rounding out a trilogy. There's really no point in me doing a Garo transformation item tier list because for most of the nights they transform with swords or two swords, or Giga had that cool axe, or like, what was it, Kiba had like his little necklace that he twirled. The thing is, there's not too much variation there, so it wouldn't be that exciting of a tier list. And then, like, Metal Heroes mostly don't have transformation items. So, I think this is kind of like our last Tokusatsu transformation item tier list. I don't feel like doing a Power Rangers version of this, because I'll be mostly saying the same things, minus the Power Rangers exclusive ones. But we're going to do Super Sentai. That way we cover everything. Now, I'm going to be a little bit brief with this because there's 47 of these, and I don't really want to spend like a whole minute on each of them. I do want this to be sort of nice and condensed. So we're going to kind of roll through them. This is going to be the main changer of each series, not any additional Ranger changers, not any Six Rangers or extra Ranger things. So, for example, I will rank like the Dawn Blaster, but not like Don Tora Doken, well, I don't remember his name. Anyways, I'm not going to do his spear because he's the Sixth Ranger. So this is just going to be me ranking the main primary changers, with the exception of 5-man, but I'm ranking them as one entry, even though we'll talk about both versions. So let's begin. Let's start all the way at the beginning of Super Sentai's history with Goranger. Himitsu Sentai Goranger. Now, this show was the beginning of Super Sentai, and its transformation item was they do a twirl. Like, they literally just turn around. Now, while some people will be like, oh, that's sort of a... I just noticed our rankings out of order. So with the Go Rangers doing a twirl to transform, some may say, that's kind of lame. What is that kind of device? I say, that is the most convenient thing ever. You don't have to push a button on your wrist. You don't have to call somebody on a phone. You don't have to put a key into a phone. You can just turn around and suddenly you're transformed. So that's an S tier ranking for me. 100%. The best kind of transformation because it's simple, it's easy, and you can fight bad guys a lot quicker. Now, what's the exact opposite of this was the second Sentai series, Jaka Dengekitai, where they had to go into the powered capsules to transform. So, Go Ranger Cyborgs, you turn around and then you're transformed. Jaka Cyborgs, you have to go find the capsules, which usually get dropped off by the Sky Ace, which is their ship, would drop the capsule, and then they run inside, get in the capsules, and they transform. Very inconvenient. That's a D tier for me. Also, it's probably the only Super Sentai transformation item they're never going to make a one-to-one version of. And if Bandai does that, this video is a record of how insane that idea is. And I want that to be known that I don't think that's ever going to happen. That being said, if they made Jaka Figuarts and included them in power capsules like the old Popanika figures did, I would very much appreciate that. Also adding to that, Big One from Jaka didn't have to use one of these. He just turned around like a Go Ranger. There's efficiency. There's efficiency in just turning. Okay, so the next series, Battle Fever J, had the Battle Seaver. Now, the Battle Seaver is essentially like the dopiest looking wristwatch. They never made a toy of this, and in fact, most people probably don't know Battle Fever J had a transformation item. But it is a wrist device, it has a giant antenna on it, it's got a keyboard. I love 70s tech stuff, but this just looks ridiculous. It's going to go above the powered capsules just because it's a little more convenient being wrist-worn as opposed to having to run to a capsule. Now, the Denji ring, I actually think the Denji ring is pretty cool. So each Denji man had a ring that they could wear, and then that would be their transformation item. And I actually don't think they released any versions of this until like recently, where they were released as keychains, which was kind of weird, but it was like a nice little premium set. But the Denji rings, I think, are actually pretty cool, because much like with Go Ranger, it's the convenience, but also it's really like inconspicuous. Like wearing a ring, no one's going to notice that, as opposed to like some of the bigger wrist changers or the big cell phones or literally a gun. So actually, I'm going to put the Denji rings also in the S tier, just below Go Ranger because it's not as convenient. But you know what? Actually, it's got style. We'll go above. I think Sentai should have some of those simpler practical items every once in a while. All right, so next up we have the Vulcan brace. Now the Vulcan brace it didn't get a toy either. These are just mostly just props at this point. The Vulcan brace is kind of cool because it's essentially just like the logo on a wrist brace for each of the Sun Vulcan members. So Vol Eagle, Vol Shark, and Vol Panther all have one. And it's just a simple like transformation thing. I think it's cool. I think it's stylish. Again, I really do like those more conspicuous changers. Things that don't stand out so much to the public eye, and you know, it can kind of keep the identity secret. But it's a little bit much just like, oh hey, we added a little symbol to our wrist, so it's going to be an A tier. All right, the goggle brace. This one was actually, I believe, the first one to get a toy. But goggle brace from Sentai Goggle 5. It's okay. It's kind of, I don't know. It's just a shape on a wrist. It's not that exciting. I'm going to put that one in C tier. The Dyna brace from Dynaman, I think, actually has more flair to it. In fact, I think that this one's kind of cool. It looks very techy, but it does look like kind of just a generic piece of like 70s, 80s tech, not really something unique to Dynaman. Dynaman is pretty much like one of the more explosive Sentai shows of the early days because they started using more pyrotechnics. And I don't know, it could be a lot flashier. I'll put it above the goggle brace, but not too much higher. So next up we have Bioman's Techno brace. Now I really like this one. It's stylish. It looks very 80s. It looks like a wristwatch from the 80s that were kind of techy. So it's conspicuous, but it's not like overly, you know, oh, that's a changer or something. Like it has some nice flair to it. It's not too big. I put this one also in the A tier above the Vol brace, just because I like it. Now the change brace for Changeman is kind of like one that I feel like gets very, very toy-like because it has this little missile firing gimmick. Like it's got like a secret missile launcher in it, which I think is really cool. Changeman in general has really cool aesthetics as a show. And I think that having the wrist brace with the little missiles and then the missiles storing in the actual wrist strap is really cool. So honestly, this one's gonna go probably, I think it's not as stylish as the Bioman one, so I'm just gonna put it right below it. But honestly, I really do like a lot of these early changers. Now the Prism Flash from Flashman is pretty cool because I think functionality-wise, it's kind of like you hit a button and then it flashes like a camera flash, which is awesome. It works with the Flashman theme. And it has the prism, like the colors that Flashman uses. I think it's really cool. Once again, I just really love how compact it is. It's going to be a high A for me. Now the masking brace for Maskman, much like Maskman in general, because it was originally called 5-Man in development, their mecha's grade 5, their suits have the 5 on it, their brace has a 5 on it. It was supposed to be 5-Man. They changed it to Maskman for whatever reason. I don't remember the exact reason why, but having that 5 symbol, but then it be Maskman is just not gelling. And then also, it looks just like the goggle brace because of the actual same shape. So it's just not one that I really like that much. So that one's gonna be a C tier for sure. Okay, now for me to gush. No mistake, Live Man's my favorite Sentai series, 100%. I've been watching more Sentai since, but nothing's really topped it for me. And it's not necessarily that it is the greatest show ever made, or is the greatest Sentai ever made. I love the characters, I love the music, I love the style, the mecha, the suit designs, and of course the changer. I also love all the villains. I really just, Live Man clicks for me aesthetically on so many levels. So yeah, the twin brace for me, it's actually our first 2-wrist changer. And I like the way that it does the cross motion, and I like that it has a customizable plate that changes out for each Live Man. So it gives them some distinction. I would absolutely love to own the original deluxe one of these, but I'm kind of holding out and hoping that Bandai will make like a memorial edition because we've got Super Mini Plow Live Man, we're getting a Super Mini Plow Alternative Destiny Live Robo at some point, and there is the Super Shoto Live Man set that I should be getting next month that you'll probably see a review of on the channel because it's Live Man. I really hope we get a memorial version of this brace because this one's a #1 for me. I love both components of it. I love its simplicity and functionality. It may be a little bit too big, but a lot of the Live Man wears sleeves, so it works out overall. Now the turbo brace for Turboranger kind of works in the same way that the twin brace does, where the twin brace is kind of like a cross pattern. The turbo one, I like how you have to actually cross like this, and there's a button, a little windmill that spins, and I think that adds to the speed element of Turboranger, and the overall stylishness. So I'm going to put this one in the A tier as well, because I think it works really well. And yeah, while the Turbo Rangers are high school students, the devices are still small enough they can blend in without anybody calling too much attention to them, but they are still a little bit big, so that brings them down a bit. I think what also works for Live Man with them being a bit larger is that Live Man weren't trying to hide their identities as much. I think when the Sentai is trying to hide their identity and it's like really big and bulky, it's kind of a problem. But Turbo Ranger, I think, works fine as well. Also, because watching Turbo Ranger, nobody's paying attention to those kids and what they were doing. I mean, 2 of them went off and joined the villains. Anyways, so 5-man, now we get to the actual 5-man part of this. The 5-man's V-changers are interesting because there's one that's a wrist brace that comes off and flashes for the guys, and then there's one that's a locket for the girls. And I think that as teachers, those things could be hidden way better. But honestly, they don't really show them wearing them outside of when they go to become the 5-men. So I think that actually works out pretty good. I like the distinction that there's actually 2 different changers for the team, like pink and yellow have one, red, black, and blue have another. That's actually pretty unique, so I don't think it's ever happened again. Usually we get just like, you know, color changing plates or coins or something, but not distinctively that they all have different ones. So I think that's actually pretty cool. I'm going to put it in the B tier. I actually own the toys of both of those, and I should probably cover them on a video at some point, because they're cool. Now for Jetman, the cross changer I think is awesome. I love the little box. It looks like a computer box, and I love the little bird thing that has the head and the wings pop out. The computer box thing connects to the mecha, which is really cool, and the bird opening up makes a nice dramatic transformation. However, I don't like the fact that they're all red. I really would have liked to have seen, you know, each Jetman have a different colored one based on their color. I don't like it when the device is red, but it represents multiples. Now, 5-man did the same thing, where the device is yellow and red, even though it represents multiple colors. So I'm going to put the cross changer above the V changer, just because it does have that stylishness and that compatibility. But I just wish the color change actually happened. Now we start to get into what is also Power Rangers territory, but we have, first of all, Zyuranger's Dino Buckler. Now, I think this is one of the coolest devices because it's got that simplicity to it. It's a handheld device, and it pushes out like this, and it's really cool. I like how it splays open. I like the coins to be each Zyuranger has their own coin, and because they are ancient warriors, it works with the theme of the show, and I think it also works with they're not really hiding it. And the fact that it's a belt buckle means they have a practical way to carry it. So I think, honestly, like the Zyuranger Dino Buckler, that's going to be an S tier for me, because I think it's really cool. It makes sense for the story being told, and it has an easy way to be carried, despite not being a wrist-mounted device. I actually think it's the first... No, it's the second non-wrist-mounted after the female V-Changer. But honestly, I think it works pretty good. Now, the aura changer for Dairanger, I think, is pretty cool because you get that kind of motion where it comes across and plugs in. It's cool, but I also don't think it's that cool. I do think the dynamicism of pulling the key out to put the key in is neat, but it does look a little bit awkward, and it's not very conspicuous. And so I think, honestly, the aura changer's cool, but this one's going to be a low B. It's neat, but I think the Kiba changer is actually a little bit better. But we're not talking about 6 Ranger changers here. Let's talk about the Doron changer, because the Doron changer is one of those, it's a handheld device, but it's small enough to fit in a pocket. And the way that the Kaku Rangers bring it in and bring it out to hit the little button, the door slides down, individual coins for each Kaku Ranger, and the spinning light effect is really cool. I have the artisan version of this as a toy, and it's just really, really fun. And I'm really kind of surprised Power Rangers didn't use it for the Aquatar Rangers, because honestly, they really could have used it more than just like crossing their arms and saying words. This toy would have been really neat. So as a changer, I think the Doron changer for Kaku Ranger, honestly, another one of my favorites. I'm going to put in the A tier because unique, it's stylish, it fits the ninja theme, and it actually can be hidden away quite easily. All right, so O-Ranger's Power Brace is another one where they're large, but because the O-Rangers aren't hiding their identities, it works pretty good. It's kind of cool because you have like the cross, the power up, and then the crystal folds down and lights up through the other brace, which means unlike some of the other braces where it's like, you know, with the Aura Changer, you're plugging it in to make a light. With this, you're actually crossing the power. So the power is going in through, and I like that the light comes from one brace into the crystal, and then the crystal shines through the window of the other brace. And so that actually gives it kind of like a nice distinction of it's the power transferring through both. Like both are equal parts of the equation. So I think that's really great. I'm going to put this one as a high A because I really do like it. Toy-wise, it's a little hard to line up and get it to like line up, especially if the door on the one brace is not popping up like it used to. But it's a pretty cool device nonetheless. All right, so Carranger's axle changer is kind of a weird one. I think the idea of having a key to go into a brace to turn to start the ignition, great. Works with the racing theme really, really well. Unfortunately, I don't really know what the device is supposed to be. It's kind of just a brick, and then you just plug it in and it lights up, and that's it. So, yeah, I like it. I think I got some nostalgia from Power Rangers Turbo because I love the Turbo Rangers movie, but like, I don't know if I love it that much to put it anywhere higher than like a C. All right, so the digitizer from Mega Ranger is really, really cool. It's one of my favorites. It's just like, how do I rank it? Because what's really neat about it is you pull it in, you flip it up, and it's got a keypad where you have to input codes. And then the actual toy has a thing where the different codes mean different things, and they did that in the show as well, to summon the mecha, to summon some of the weapons. My only problem with it is that, well, especially later in Mega Ranger when like, Kenta's having the digitizer on one and the battle riser on the other, it's not very conspicuous for the high school students theme, and they could have used some other way for them to be summoning it or just make it look more like a watch. So I think it's really cool, and it works, I think, better in Power Rangers in Space where they have the communicators that can switch into the Astromorphers, but for Mega Ranger, it doesn't work as well. So for theming-wise, it's going to go, I think, above the Turbo Rangers Turbo Brace because the Mega Rangers did have friends and did have teachers that were paying attention, as opposed to Turbo Ranger, where there was like one teacher that cared and they had nobody else besides themselves. So I think it works a little bit better, but it's still kind of weird sometimes when they're hanging out with their non-Ranger friends who don't know who they are as Rangers, and then they're just like, well, they never question the weird bricks of technology on their wrists. Same going for Ginga Man, because Ginga Man, they were forest people, basically. So Ginga Man's Ginga Brace, it's okay. I think they started to lose some aesthetic like cohesion here. I think the dial, where you turn the dial to which color you are, but then all you do is just slap it. Like there's no real interaction there. So I think this one's gonna be a C. Probably just below the Car Ranger axle changer, just because it's not that exciting. Now the Go Brace from Go-Go 5 is exciting. Flip out gimmicks always are great, but the way that it comes around, you flip it open, it's pretty cool. Toy-wise, it does a lot more. I think that in general, it's one of the weirdest looking ones because it has like this thing where it flips open and there's an antenna, but they don't really use it for communication that much in Go-Go 5. And I don't really know if it fits the themes thematically, so I'm going to put this one in a low B because the flip gimmick is really cool, but that's about it. All right, so Time Ranger's Chrono Changer. I think as a toy, it's great with the lights. In the show, what does it really do? I mean, they pretty much just hit a button on it. They just hit a button on it. There's nothing really to do besides push a button. And so I think that while we've had some cool things with like flip up screens and the digitizer, or just in general like the way the power brace works, I think the Chrono Changer just pressing a button is just not that exciting. So we're just going to put this one probably just above the Ginga Brace because it looks a little bit better, but yeah, it's just weird. Now the G-Phone from Gal Ranger is also pretty cool. And I think the way that this is presented in show, not just as, you know, it's a cell phone, but then it flips around, becomes the animal, then it becomes the Ranger, and then the Ranger appears from it. That's really cool. Otherwise, it's just a cell phone. So if I'm going on the actual transformation sequence, this would be an A, but as the actual phone, it's going to be a B. It's just really it's just a phone. Now the Hurricane Gyro from Hurricaneger, also pretty cool. This one is pretty much kind of a standard one. It's just kind of a brick of tech, but you get to spin it, and that spinning feature is awesome. It goes with the wind theme of the Hurricanegers. It goes with the ninja theme because it can shoot like the little darts. I like it. It goes, it's going to go probably above the Change Brace, or just above, it's going to go right above Bioman, because it really fits the theme really well. The Dino Braces for Abaranger are also really neat. I do like the plate switching. Plate switching is good. The same thing with the Hurricane Gyro. Plate switching is great. The Dino braces are great. I think I'm going to put this one probably... I'm going to put this one just above the Hurricane Gyro because it's really cool. And I'm actually going to move both of those above Turbo Rangers because they just have a really neat, cool factor to them. SP license for Dekaranger, easy, convenient. You put it out, you push the button. Not trying to hide it, but it does have a holster. All the excellent points that I think we could go with. This one's going to be, I think, a low S because I really do like it, and I like all the different color variations we got. All right, now notoriously, I love the Magi phone too much, and I've never seen Magi Ranger, but I love the design. I love the idea you flip the phone out, and then you press the button, and you get the magic wand. I love all the color variations of it. It's a really cool idea because it's like, all right, you have modern day technology with the cell phone, but then you have the magic theme worked in with the wand form. So this one's going to go above the Denji Ring, right below the Twin Brace. Absolutely a top tier one for me. I think it really incorporates all the elements of Magi Ranger well. The Excellular from Gokaiger, also pretty cool. Once again, they have like a way to holster it. Awesome. It can flip up and they can do the slide thing. It also has like the searcher / blaster mode thing. Really cool. I mean, there's really just nothing else to say besides it's really awesome. This one's going to go, I think, just above the Doron Changer because it's really fun. It just really is. Now, on the opposite side, the Geki Rangers Geki Changers, I'm not that big of a fan of. Power Rangers changed these to the Solar Morpher with the sunglasses. This one, it's just pretty much you just like clamp down your fists and then you scratch and then you transform. It's cool. It's unique. It's a low C. They're just not that practical, and I don't think they work as well as Changers. Go Phone from Gokaiger. I like this one a lot. It's a cell phone, but it's really big and chunky, but they have a holster for it. Flips out, put the soul in, close it up, hit the button. Excellent. It's a few too many steps, I think, but this one's going to be a high B for me. Because overall, design-wise, it's not as... I don't love it as much. Shinkenger Shadow Phone. This one's really cool. So I really do like the fact that you have, again, the cell phone, and then it flips into the brush, so you have the traditional brush for the katakana or the kanji that they draw, which I think is great. I think that actually works out pretty good. Design-wise, it looks great. It fits the theme. I'm going to put this one probably just below Gokaiger for convenience, but you know what? Actually, I'm going to put it above the Denji Rings. It's going to be my number 3. I think I actually really like that one a lot. And it's something that I wish the American toy did, because that brush mode switch is really cool when you fold it in half for the brush. Tensoder. It's a giant head that eats cards. I think functionality-wise, it's cool. I think practicality-wise, it's awful. Like, they never really show where the Gokaigers hide this thing because it's a giant head that puts cards in. So this one's going to be a D tier for me. I don't hate it. I just don't love it either. Gosh, here we go. Morpher from Gokaiger. I think Gokaiger has a really cool gimmick. I think the characters are great. I think the show suffered story-wise because it kind of didn't balance the anniversary and story elements as well. But Morpher's pretty cool. You flip the phone up, you put the Ranger key, you turn it, displays out into a pirate symbol. Awesome. It's a few too many steps, and it's really gigantic, which is why it's going to be a B. It's a high B, but it's a little too big. It just seems impractical to fit into a pocket, and I think that's part of the problem. Now, the Morphin Brace from Donbrothers is excellent. They're spies, but they're not... There's a spy theme, but they're not really spies. They're not hiding their identities, so it fits in with their uniforms. I think the way that the glasses pop up so that you can have, like, you know, the glasses pop up and they push it and that becomes the glasses on the visor. Excellent stuff. Thematically, it works as a grappling hook. It's awesome. I love it. This one's going to go high A for me. The Moi Moi Zekyun from Abaranger is an idol girl statue that turns into a gun. So, you know, everything you need in life, right? I think this is crazy. It fits Abaranger's crazy zany theme. They don't explain how they carry these around, but then again, they're an unofficial Sentai. The show is a parody of Sentai tropes, so that works for me. Overall, it's a bit nutty, and for that nuttiness, I will put it middle of B, probably just below the Cross Changer. It's cool, though. It fits the theme. All right, the Gabu Revolver, which did get, you know, a holster, so that does explain how they carry it around. Really cool. We're starting to get into more weapons as changers, which is fine. That's a trend that's happened. I like the way it loads batteries, like ammunition, and it chomps down, and then you spin it. Really dynamic stuff. This one's going to be in the A tier for me, above the Denji Rings. It's really cool. It's a really cool one. I think I've maxed out the A tier. Yeah, I put 10 in S and 10 in A. I think the rest of these are gonna land lower. I don't think any of these are S tiers. Like Tokyuger's Tokuchanger. I love Tokyuger. I have all the mecha, I have all the changers, I have all the Resha. Love the show, love the characters, love the villains. One of my favorite Sentais. This is a D tier changer. It's literally like a giant brace, which I think they actually put it on in the show. They don't even like wear it all the time because of how big it is. Put it on, you flip the gate, you put the Resha in, you close it down. It's cool, but it also makes no frickin' sense. It's really big and cumbersome. Not a big fan of that. The Ninja Ichibanto from Ninja, really cool. Love that it is the transformation item. It's the sword. You get to spin the shuriken. It's got the button system. I think that works pretty good. It's pretty much like the Gabu revolver if it was a sword. So I really don't mind that too much. Now, for me, it's only going to go in B tier because, well, all you do is spin it. Like, it's button, spin, button, spin, button, spin. I like it. I do think the actual design could have used a little bit more work because it looks a little too plain in places. Like, you got the fire on the handle, but then the blade's just yellow. You could do more. Okay, Juo Changer. This is a cube that you turn. Actually, you open it up, you push a button like it's a phone. You close it, and you turn the cube like it's a Rubik's Cube. Cool, neat, I like it. It's going to be a C. It's just weird as a changer, and the whole cell phone thing, it just feels bizarre. Like every time they held up this cube to their head as a cell phone, it was weird. Speaking of weird, the Seiza Blaster. This one is essentially a blaster mounted on the wrist. You put your globe in, you move your globe, and then you pull it back and you pull the trigger and then you transform. And you can summon the mecha and do attacks and all that. It's cool. I don't totally love it. This is also C tier. I'll put it just below the Duo Changer because the Duo Changer doesn't have a gimmick, so it makes it easier to use. But yeah, Seiza Blaster is bizarre. I think it works. I think the toy's fun, but when we're looking at overall designs, it's just going to stay in C. The VS Changer from Lupin Ranger, Pata Ranger. I think the gimmick was cool, having the vehicles be also the mecha. I like that the planes moved up and the cars moved down, so we had a difference between the two teams. But it's a really bland-looking gun. I think the actual gimmick is fun. I think the toy is fun, but the actual device on its own, it doesn't look that great. That one's also going in D tier. Another show I like, but yet changes in D tier, just design-wise. Ryusoul Changer, why do you exist? So when they did Ninja, they're like, sword is the changer. When they did Power Rangers Ninja Steel, they're like, we need a Morpher toy and a sword. So it's like, okay, well, why do we morph with this? And then the sword does everything else. With Ryusoulger, Sentai-wise, they're like, let's have a changer where you stick the key in and you spin it. And that's it. I mean, the spinning gimmick's cool, but this thing is useless otherwise. Because the sword, where you put in all the souls for the chomping gimmick, that does everything. After they transform, the changer's useless. So I think, you know, when you have a gimmick-based Sentai and you have an item that's completely useless like the Ryusoul Changer, that honestly is just going to go below the 10 soder, because what's the point of it? It could have just used the sword to transform. Case in point, they made a Memorial Edition sword, but not the changer, because the changer's useless. Kirame Changer. It's like wearing a tire on your wrist and you spin it. It's like the Hurricane Gyro, but gigantic and awkward looking. It's a C. Once again, love Kyoryuger, one of my favorite Sentais of all time. Not a big fan of the changer, honestly. The Dekaranger from Zenkaiger. Now this one, I think, you know, you put the gear and you close it up and you have to crank it a lot. Maybe too much. I think it's a cool idea. I'm going to put this one on a low B because it's stylish, it's fun, but the cranking gimmick can get a little annoying. And then lastly, I haven't watched Donbrothers yet. I'm waiting until it's done so I can binge that insanity. But the Don Blaster, from what I understand, you put the gear in, you spin it, just like you crank it, and then you fire it. I think the spinning with the little blaster thing is a little bit more exciting than the crank, but the red and yellow with the like stickers all over it doesn't look good. This one's going to be a D tier right above the Ryusoul Changer. That's it. I think I've gone on probably too long, but that's my ranking. As you can see all the pictures here. You can figure out what it was if you want to recap it. I balanced it out. But, you know, there's my ranking. So I think Sentai has had a lot of really interesting devices over the years, and it was kind of fun to rank them and go through them again. And if you have any questions on, like, why I rank some of them some way and, like, what problems I have with the designs, ask me in the comments. I'm absolutely open to having more of a conversation. I try to keep these at about a half hour, so I'm going to run my way through this. But stay tuned for more tier lists, probably as live streams, so be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button while you're down there. because there'll be more videos on the channel in the near future, and check out some that you may not have caught before, like my breakdown of Hasbro's plastic-free packaging, as well as some other unboxings and things that have come up on the channel. Check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for Tokusatsu news and more. My awesome graphic designer on Twitter at darkclaw643. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.